Hello everyone and welcome to today's session. I hope everyone is recharged for the today's session. Let's start the discussion. Till last lecture, we discussed about the portion of SA 500 and 501 with respect to SA 501 was uh, audit evidence, but in specific areas for specific risk. Okay, so I hope everyone is clear with that. Okay, now let's proceed further to the next topic that I want to discuss is SA 505 external confirmation. Because in SA 501 also somewhere in the litigation we were talking about sending confirmation to the external legal counsel. Now, if we are talking about confirmations, I need to understand how to send confirmation, what to do in the confirmations. Okay, so let's talk about SA 505 confirmations. I will call external confirmations. Okay, fine. Now, when I talk about external confirmation, why do you think, at some places we need to have external confirmation? Like, why do you think, we need to obtain external confirmations at some places? Because basically the third parties are involved. The external third parties are involved at those places. That's why we are, more, onto that side that, okay, we need to take the confirmation. But there is an option for the external confirmation also, the alternate option. Ask from management, take a written representation, internal confirmation. Then why we go for external confirmation? Like, let's say, for example, if inventory line is lying with a third party, I can ask from management also whether the inventory is lying with a third party or not. I can take confirmation from management also. But why I take confirmation from third party? What is the reason for that? We are correct. Good, Salish. Good, Shruti. Come on, guys. Why we, just go for external confirmation when we can confirm it with the management also? Very good, Tanisha. Very good, Charu. Very good. So, when I talk about external confirmation, as per your answers, for high assurance, to get high evidence, to support the audit evidence where the third parties are there to act more objectively. Okay. In external confirmation, there is a less chance of fraud. So, I say there is a high audit evidence. The audit evidence that I receive from an external confirmation, okay, is more persuasive, more reliable. Okay, so I could say that audit evidence received through confirmations is more reliable, okay, more reliable and more, persuasive evidence that I need. Persuasive evidence right, evidence that I need. Okay. Now, this particular point, more reliable and persuasive evidence that I need is something, okay, we need to focus upon throughout the session. Throughout the session. That will be the triggering point for us. Now I'll tell you why. Whatever activities I will perform for the external confirmations, I have to think of that the evidence I need from that particular process, the particular procedure, the particular activity should be more reliable. Okay, that's why I'm not asking management to do anything. I am doing myself. Correct, Shruti? Correct, Yudugodalu? So yes, the main concern and the main point here is that my evidence should be more reliable than asking management. Okay, fine. So if this is a scenario that okay, when I say if the evidence should be more reliable, now throughout the particular confirmation process, I need to do certain things that keep the reliability on that particular level. So I need to make sure that still the reliability is that particular level and management doesn't get involved in the process. So for that, we need to understand external confirmation process. Okay. I want you guys to answer. Let's say, for example, status, okay, account receivables. Now, if you want to send an external confirmation to account receivable, what procedure you will follow? What procedure you will follow? Come on, guys. What procedure you will follow if you need to, perform the external confirmation process? What you will do, how you will do, with respect to account receivables. Positive confirmations. So if you want to roll out positive confirmations for account receivables, what process you will follow? What you will do? Come on, guys. Very good, Tanisha. What you will do if you need to, roll out the confirmations? How you will roll out the confirmations? Okay, good, Kriti. So basically, I perform external confirmations because I need more reliable and persuasive evidence. That is, my evidence should be of more reliable nature. If I go to management and if I ask the management, please perform external confirmation or you confirm me, that is less reliable. Okay, that's why I do it myself. So, what is the procedure that you guys would follow when you want to roll out external confirmation? Come on, guys. Okay, good, Charu. What will be your starting point? Like, from where you will start. Okay, Sailesh? But let's say, for example, if I say, confirming from the third party, but there will be some way that you need to confirm in the way in which you confirm. Like you will call the third party, you will drop a mail, you will visit the third party. What you will do in the external confirmation process when you want to confirm from the third party. Come on, guys. Okay, good, Charu. Good, Viraj. Good, Yudu Gonalu. Okay, so I'll discuss one good case study, very famous case study. Okay, kind of where this particular issue came into the picture in detail, I would say. So there was a case you might be aware about the Satyam case. Okay, where there was a lot of irregularities were identified. A lot of irregularities were identified in that particular case. Now, there was one of the area in that particular case which was, around deposits. Any one of you know that particular one? What was the problem over there? No. So basically, in that case, the scene scenario was okay. Verification of bank accounts, which raised the question that how the bank balances and the deposits were verified. So that was something a very interesting point to go into and study, like why the bank accounts were not being not verified appropriately. So there were in books of account there were certain deposits which were shown, but in actual there were no deposits present. Okay, in case of Satyam. So now, and around that, the whole story is there, the whole case is there. Okay, a lot of, discussions and everything was there. So now, when this came out, the main and the, fundamental question with respect to the audit was that if there is a balance in balance sheet, when I say bank, and when I say that balance sheet balance of bank was verified through confirmations, or the deposits have been verified through the confirmation, then where is the lack? Okay. So where is a lack, you know, in that particular one? That was a very, point that was required to be understood, and required to be, this, like, kind of important point. So when I talk about this particular case, at that particular time, what was the scenario is, somewhere it was believed, somewhere it was, identified that the evidence that was collected, the evidence that was collected through confirmations was not appropriate, because the letter of confirmations was somewhere, were either, not correct, or it was shared through the management. So there is a lot more behind that. I'll suggest you guys go and read what was the issue in detail. Okay. The bank deposits, how they were not verified even after the confirmations, and what was the miss in the confirmations and everything. I'll request everyone to go and do a R&D after this lecture. But yes, that was a problem. That was a good problem that was faced. Now, when I say that problem, means the confirmation process was not done appropriately. Now, I'll tell you some process, you tell me where is the issue. Let's say, for example, if I want to roll out a confirmation, what I'll do is, I'll write a process for the confirmation, and then you guys, you tell me where I'm going wrong. So I'll select the accounts to be confirmed, or rather than I select, I'll write auditor selecting accounts to be confirmed. Auditor selecting the accounts to be confirmed. Okay. Then, once the selection is done, auditor asks management to provide authority letter, which is attached with confirmation request. Now I'm talking about here positive confirmation process. So this is with respect to positive confirmation. Okay. Then auditor asks management to prepare confirmation letters and to include balance details in that. Auditors ask management to post those confirmations letters. Okay. And then auditors ask management to share the responses received from accounts receivable or responses of confirmation. Okay. Now this is the process that auditors followed. Like they auditor selected the accounts. They asked management to provide authority letter, which is required to be attached with the confirmation request. Auditors asked management to prepare confirmation letters and to include balances in that. Auditor asked management to post those confirmation letters, and then auditor asked management to share the responses received of those confirmations. Okay. So this is the confirmation process I have written down. Now you tell me what is the issue in this process. You tell me what is the issue in this process. Come on, guys. Third and fourth. Okay, Tanisha. Good. What else? Come on, guys. What else? Where do you find issue? Very good, Charu. Very good, Salish. So now the problem here is that okay, first of all, auditor asked management to prepare confirmation letters. That was incorrect. No, this is not correct. I tell you reason why. The language, what is required to be written, what is we are requesting in the confirmation, that should be auditor, that should be decided by the auditor, not by someone else. Okay. So if there is a confirmation that we are going to design, then we need to make sure that in that confirmation process we decide what to be written, what not to be written. Okay, what is required to be asked in that confirmation process. So that is something on us. So this particular portion, if I say, sorry, this particular portion over here, the auditor, sorry, it's a bit light, sorry. I know it will be difficult to read. The auditor has to draft the confirmation which are required to be sent. So auditor is a person who needs to draft the confirmation. Here, in this point, auditor asks management to post those confirmation letters. Again, not correct. If I ask management to post the confirmation letters, then how will I identify whether the address, the contact details, where the confirmation letters are posted are correct? So, to avoid, this particular issue, auditor needs to collect the contact information of third party. And in today's time, there are various means available to verify the address. You can go verify from GST portal. You can verify from MCA. If it is a company, if it is LLP, again MCA. If it is, GST registered, then GST portal, as I told you. Then, if it is a sole proprietor, even you can go on, not register anywhere. You can go to Google's, Google Maps or Google to check about the person, to check about the business, if it's a known business, famous business. If not, let's say you don't have, any detail available, even you can go and check the details sometimes, possible on the income tax website if you have a PAN of that particular, party. So there are various ways to identify the address or the contact details of that individual. So auditor needs to collect the contact information of third party to roll out the confirmation. And the last one is, we ask management, no, that is incorrect. It is, we are not required to ask from management about the confirmation. Rather, auditor is required to mention in confirmation that the confirmation should be written back to auditor directly. The return / reply should be to the auditors directly. And based on this, if I receive a response, I will consider. If no response received, auditor should do follow-up. So auditor should perform follow-up. So this is how, the confirmation process should be driven. Rather than we relying upon the management, we need to understand where we, what is our responsibility. It is the auditor's responsibility, okay, to draft the confirmation, to include the balances, whatever we want, okay, whatever we want to confirm. Sometimes we do not mention the balance. We keep it open-ended so that we ask the person to fill the balance and send us, so that, it gives one more step of reliability. So let's say, for example, I know the balance is ₹100, but still I will send a blank confirmation. I will ask, okay, please confirm your balance and write it down. Let's say, if I do not provide a balance in that confirmation, so he will write whatever he thinks is correct, or as per his knowledge, whatever the balance he is having in his books of account. Okay, so at times that is more, I think, somewhere more helpful also, because let's say when I provide a balance 100 rupees, people used to tend to use, okay, I confirm this is the balance, then they send the reply. So even with the banks, we do not, send the bank balances or the bank accounts for which we want to confirm. Rather, we can, also send open-ended confirmations to bank. Okay, tell us which are the accounts that the person is having with you, and what are the balances of those accounts, deposits, and everything, relationships, kind of. But nowadays, you can easily identify what relationship a person is having with a bank, because each person or each entity will have one relationship number, customer relationship number, and all the accounts, everything, products of that particular customer will be mapped around that relationship number. So you can easily send us a confirmation request to bank. Okay, this is the customer, this is the customer relation number. Can you please provide what bank accounts they are or facilities they are having with you, what are the balances, and please reply to this address back to the auditors. Contact information, that is something we need to get from the management, but we need to verify also. Okay. A return and reply should be to the auditor directly, and the response received, we need to do a follow up for that response. Okay. Now, that was the perfect scenario when I say, okay, I have received, I send the confirmation, I get the reply, that is done. But there are, some areas where, this is usually, the things goes in a similar line. So I'll tell you some issues. Management denies to send confirmation. Okay. If management says, okay, I'm not allowing you to send the confirmation, management refuses to allow auditor to send a confirmation request. Or issues with reliability of response. Issue with reliability of response means the response that you have received, is appearing to be not reliable. And the third issue is non-response. Means you have not received a response at all. So in each of the case, we need to understand what is required to be done. Okay. Let's say, for example, case number 1, when management refuses to allow the auditor to send a confirmation, what you will do? If management says, do not send confirmation, please do not go with the confirmation process, I do not allow you to send confirmation to my account receivables, what you will do? Let's say, for example, you are being appointed auditor of XYZ Limited, new auditor, first time auditor, and now when you ask management, okay, I want to send confirmation to account receivables, management directly said, no, do not send confirmations to account receivables. We do not want you to send. What you will do? What you will do, guys? Okay, Geeta. What else? Come on, guys. What you will do if management, does not allow you to share a confirmation request? Okay, Geeta. Okay, Jigar. Good. Good, Tanisha. Good, Kriti. Okay, Mohammed. Very good. Good, Yadu Mandalu. Okay. So I'll give you few examples and you tell me then what you will do. Okay. Let's say, for example, remove this multi-plan. There's a normal company. Okay. XYZ Limited appointed you as an auditor for FY 22-23. Now there were four parties. Okay, account receivable. There were four account receivables for which management did not allow you to send confirmations. Okay, and with reason, I'll tell you what was the reason. Okay, so below are the parties. Let's say AALLP, B Limited, C Private Limited, D Trading and Company. Okay, so these were some companies or sole proprietorship or private limited LLP, private limited LLPs, uh, for which management does not allow you to send confirmation. And when you perform the inquiry as to reason for not allowing, then what management said you is a legal dispute is going on and sending confirmation will negatively impact the legal process. The company has declared bankruptcy, or you can say the company got insolvent, kind of, you know. Then C Private Limited. So management said that this company is located in some far village and it is difficult to contact owners there, owners of company. And the fourth one, D Trading Company, management says that okay, this company or this particular sole proprietor now does not trade with us anymore. Now these are the reasons that you've been given. Okay. These are the responses that you have been given by the management. A, B, C, D. Okay. Now let's do one by one. In A, case of A LLP, what do you think about the reason? What you will do? Okay. Now, once you think about the reason, what is the next step that you are going to perform? So I'll say next steps. Reason, fine. If I say reason, okay, then what is the next steps that I need to do? So evaluate the reason and the next steps. Come on, guys. So what you are required to do here is understand whether you know the reason is appropriate or not, and given this reason, what are the next steps as an auditor you need to perform? Okay, Tanisha, good. Come on, guys. What you will do in all the four, in first case, A1, legal dispute. Very good, Yudo Mandalu. Very good, Jigar. Good, Kriti. So, in case of legal, if I ask you next steps, what we need to do is that in case of legal, we need to verify the same with legal team, or if you go step ahead, auditor can hire auditors expert to take advice or to consult about this. Okay, and if you find, okay, like if you say, okay, the this will impact negatively, if I find the reason valid, yes, they are saying correct, I need to perform alternate audit procedures. Okay, to gather sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, plus need to evaluate the impact on audit opinion. Okay, need to evaluate the impact on audit opinion. So that could be done in this particular scenario. What about this one? Bankruptcy. B Limited got bankrupt, insolvent. Management doesn't allow you to send confirmation because the company is into now bankruptcy. What you will do? B Limited, bankruptcy. Come on, guys. What you will do? Next steps. Valid reason. Good Yedukundalu. Good Geeta. Very good Tanisha. So maybe we can in this case ask insolvency certificate or can contact liquidator of company, or insolvency when there is a liquidator appointed, they send out a communication to all the creditors. So if that is an account receivable for us, we are the debtor for the company, we are the creditor for the company, and they sent out the letter to the creditor for for this particular part, like there is a insolvency or bankruptcy, the creditors need to file their claim and everything. So if any communication has been received in this regard, then sharing of that communication. Okay, you can say sharing of communication that has been received from the liquidator of the company. Now, when I say this particular thing, asking insolvency certificate, contacting liquidator of the company, sharing of communication received from the liquidator of company, this is nothing but your alternate audit procedures. So when we talk about performing alternate audit procedures, this is the alternate audit procedure. So you perform alternate procedures and then you evaluate the impact. Plus, when I say it is insolvent or bankrupt, I need to check the provision also, whether appropriate provision has been taken or not. Okay. So, and sometimes it is mandatory for, to creditor to confirm the balance. So, whether they have confirmed the balance, the details of the communication. So, that will be, your triggering point or your alternate procedures that you need to perform. So, I'm talking about alternate audit procedures. Whatever we discuss, that's an alternate audit procedure. Okay. So that is done. B. Now C. C Private Limited. What do you think? What do you think about C Private Limited? This company is located in some far village and it is difficult to contact owner of the company. Good Jigar. Good Edu Gunalu. Good Geeta. Come on, guys. Okay, Manoj, good. Good, Kriti. So for me, I would say not justified. Here, I would say not justified, unreasonable. Okay. And if management is refusing, then I will say this is not justified and unreasonable. If that is a scenario, then what I need to do is I need to evaluate the implications of management refusal on my risk assessment. Okay. So I need to check impact on my risk assessment. Why? Why I need to check impact on my risk assessment? Why I'm talking about risk assessment? I'm saying if management is not justified, unreasonable, then check the impact on risk assessment. Why I'm talking about risk assessment, not the audit opinion. Why I'm talking about risk assessment, not the audit opinion over here. Very good, Geeta. I could say no, check impact or check impact on the audit opinion, but no, I'm saying check impact on the risk assessment. Why? Not audit opinion. Come on, guys. Tell me the logic. Why I am talking about risk assessment, not audit opinion over here? What is the difference do you think? Like, checking impact on risk assessment and checking impact on audit opinion. Come on, guys. Okay, Tanisha. Okay, Kriti. Okay, Shruti. But let's say, for example, if we are talking about risk of material misstatement, why I would say a reason can trigger a risk of material misstatement here. Why? Like, okay, I identified the reason given by the management is not justified, unreasonable. Then why I would say this is impacting my risk assessment. How it will impact my risk of material misstatement? Rather, I should modify my opinion. Why I am modifying my risk assessment? Very good, Geeta. Okay, Jigar. Good. Good, Manoj. So understand in this scenario, when management's justification is not appropriate or the reason that is given by the management is unreasonable, in that case, check the impact on risk assessment because you need to see there are chances of there are chances of fraud risk. Okay. So there are chances of fraud risk, possibility of fraud in this scenario. I need to go back and need to see what was the transaction with this company. Okay, transactions. balance. Then comes whether related party or not, who are the owners, a triggering point for me to go in detail. That's why I have to alter my risk assessment. How many such companies are present where management is not allowing me? For example, this one, this sole proprietor doesn't trade with us anymore. Same will be applicable over here. Same as C Private Limited. I need to check the impact on the risk assessment, whether there are chances of fraud or not. I need to see whether there is a chance of fraud risk. So, and accordingly, auditor needs to modify the nature, timing, and extent of audit procedures. Same way, I need to, accordingly, auditor needs to modify the nature, timing, and extent of audit procedure. And even after that, okay, even after that, modifying the procedures. If I am able to obtain, I am either I might be able to obtain or either I might not be able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then I need to consider, auditor needs to consider impact on opinion based on sufficient and appropriate audit evidence gathered from alternate audit procedures. Alternative audit procedures. Okay. So I'll go back to the points where we were talking about. Here, management denies to send confirmation. So what I understood is, first, understand the reason. Understand and inquire the reason for not allowing. Second, seek audit evidence to validate the reason. Okay, if you are seeing bankrupt, show me documents. If you are seeing legal case, show me documents. Show me some evidence that, okay, whatever you are saying is good and appropriate. Seek audit evidence to validate the reason. Then evaluate the implication evaluate the implications of management refusal on two areas. One is your risk assessment. On first is auditor's risk assessment. Evaluate the implications of management refusal on auditor's risk assessment, because I need to check whether there is a fraud risk or not. Second, I need to check the implications of management refusal on ability to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Means even can I obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence to validate the balance? Okay. After verifying the implications, either I need to perform alternate audit procedures. Okay. Together, sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. And even after, like when I consider the implication to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence and I perform the alternate procedure, but still I'm unable to get, if auditor is still unable to get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, okay, then there are two things the auditor should do. One, communicate to those charged with governance as per essay. Which essay? Come on, guys. Which essay? You tell me which essay. Second, consider implications on audit opinion. So first one, communicate to those charged with governance as per which essay? Which essay? Come on, guys. No Yodobandalu. No Jigar. No, no Gita. Quickly, quickly, which essay? Good Viraj, good Gita, good Kriti, good, good, good. No Shruti, good Adera. So it is essay 260, not 250 or not 265. Okay, it's essay 260. Essay 250 is talking about, it's not on the communication, it's on the considerations of laws and regulations. 250 is the laws and regulations, and 265 is specific for the internal controls. Okay, so when I talk about 265, it is communicating deficiencies in internal control. But when I talk about 260, it is communicating, a lot of matters to the those charged with governance. Clear? So essay 260. No, Tanisha, not 230. It is documentation. Yep. Okay. So communicate to those charged with governance as per essay 260. Consider implication on audit opinion. This is I am supposed to do. When I say that, management denies and I am not able to, get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Fine. The next one is that we need to discuss that issue with the reliability of the response. Means the response which I have received is not reliable. I'm not thinking the response that I have received is the reliable one. I'll give you with an example. Okay. Let's say, for example, so I took these four examples. Let's say I'll take more four. E Limited, F Limited, G Private Limited, and H LLP. Okay, these are the four companies. Now the problem was we were allowed to send confirmation to them and we sent the confirmation to them. Okay. Now the problem was that where the confirmation received from confirmation received from E Limited was sent to management, not to auditor. So confirmation uh, of E Limited was received by management directly and then forwarded to auditor. In case of F Limited, okay, the balance or the confirmation rather, the confirmation was sent from address of another company, that is J Limited. So there is no name of F Limited on the address. In case of G Private Limited, okay, in case of G Private Limited, mail confirmation was received, but the mail ID is generic, means abc at the gmail.com or something, we can create in a day, is a generic and was never used before to communicate with company in past. Means, this is not the normal mail ID through which G Private Limited was communicating with the company. Rather, it was a generic mail ID which was never used before to communicate with the company in past. In case of HLLP, okay, in case of HLLP, the confirmation received back is blank. The confirmation that you have received back is blank. Now, in all these scenarios, I could say there is an issue to the reliability. Now, what you will do in all these cases? Let's say take one by one, E Limited. What you will do in E Limited? Confirmation of E Limited was received by management directly and then forwarded to auditor. Come on, guys. What you will do in E Limited case? What you will do in this case? Yes, Yerugondalu, correct. But let's say, for example, if I ask you the next steps, what will be the next steps in these cases? Good, Jigar. Good, Geeta. So what will be the next steps in this case? Good, Edu Pandalu. Very good. Come on, guys. Let's talk about the next case, next steps over here. What should be done in this next step with respect to the next steps? In E Limited case, confirmation of E Limited was received by management directly and then forwarded to auditor. Next steps. Come on, come on. Quickly. This is pretty easy. See, why I'm taking so much of examples over here? The reason because in exam also there will be a practical scenario. Okay. In exam, the question can be, in a form of practical scenario. Over there, you need to understand, okay, what is the practical scenario, how to tackle that. And when you will have a clarity, okay, this kind of scenario we have seen, we have discussed, okay, what to be done, practically thinking, and then you will be able to get the answer of that particular question. So you have to keep yourself habitual to the practical scenarios. Okay, Kriti, good. So in this particular case, okay, I say that, okay, two things to be done. Number one, evaluate the impact on risk assessment and perform alternate audit procedures. That is for sure. But when I say risk assessment, because I need to think about fraud risk over here, chances of fraud risk is something, I need to check. Are you getting my point? Another way, this is something, theoretical that I'm talking about. Evaluate the impact on risk assessment and perform alternate audit procedures. Can any one of you give me an example of what alternate procedures can be performed here? Okay, leave the theory part. I'm talking practically. What alternate audit procedures you will perform? Leave the theory part aside. Practically, what alternate audit procedures you will perform in this case? Let's talk practically. Like, okay, for example, when you went to audit, you got this particular scenario. Now what? What you will do? In studies, we have seen, okay, perform alternate audit procedures. Can anyone give me an example of alternate audit procedure that you will perform? Okay, pretty good. But that is not, the form of alternate audit procedures. I'm saying what alternate audit procedure you guys will perform practically on ground. Theoretical part, we need to consider the impact on risk assessment. Second, we need to perform alternate audit procedures. But I'm asking you guys, what alternate audit procedure you will perform when you are on the ground and you face this situation? Good, Jigar, very good. Anyone? No? I'll tell you practically what we do. When I talk about alternate audit procedures, what I do, practical scenario. There are few ways to deal with this situation. Number one, subsequent receipt validation. We call it SRV. Means we validate whether subsequently the amount was received in the bank account or not. Let's say as on 31st March, the balance is 100. Whether by the end of June when I'm doing the audit, or whether if let's say if I'm doing the audit in the month of July, August, what is the amount that we have received in our bank account? Whether we have received the amount in front of all those invoices which were open on 31st March. So what is our exposure? Number two, resend confirmation and ask them please revert back to the auditors itself. Number three, personal visit. Personal visit or call confirmation. So I will either call that third party and confirm this is the balance that you wrote in the thing, or I'll personally visit the third party. I may resend the confirmation. So subsequent receipts or subsequent receipt validation, good Edu Gundalu, is something we can do. We can resend the confirmation. We can personally visit. These are the examples of performing alternate audit procedures. And then we do the exposure analysis. Okay, we have received the balance. There is very less exposure available now. Okay. Good, Shruti. So that is something can be done in E limited case. Okay. Again, when I talk about F limited, G limited, H limited, these are the procedures I can perform. Let's say, for example, F limited, the confirmation was sent from the address of J limited. Now, this raises a doubt in my mind. Why J limited? I need to evaluate, okay, if there is a third party in between from where I'm receiving the confirmation, then why the third party is involved? What is the purpose of, involving a third party? So I need to check why J limited is involved. Number one. Number two, is it a proper source? Number three, is J limited authorized? To send confirmation on behalf of my F limited. So this will give me comfort over the integrity and authenticity of the transaction or the confirmation. Why J Limited is in between? Why? What is the reason? Is it a parent company? Is it another name of F Limited? Is it a division of F Limited? What is the background behind that? Or is it a third party which is coordinating confirmations for F Limited? So there are companies which provide confirmation management process. Okay, for big companies. So whether this is that company, so we need to understand why J Limited is in picture. Same in case of G Limited, I have received mail from generic ID. What I'll do? Personal visit. I may call the company. Okay, I may ask them to confirm from either official mail ID or send from official address a hard copy. Okay. So I'll ask them, please, confirm either from official mail ID or send an official hard copy from your official address to me. So this is I can perform as an alternate procedures. And based on these alternate procedures, I need to consider whether I have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence or not. And the last one, HLLP, is a classic case of non-response. In this case, simple. If I have not received a response, not inappropriate, but a blank response, which is equivalent to a non-response, in that case, I need to see what alternate audit procedures I can perform to get the comfort. So in both of the cases, okay, whether there is an issue on the reliability of the response or there is a non-response, first of all, check the implications on risk assessment, second on ability to gather sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Okay, then on the basis of that, you perform additional procedures. And if after performing additional procedures, if you are still not able to get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then yes, you need to, either modify or you need to, modify your opinion or consider the impact of your opinion, and you need to communicate with those charged with governance. Okay. If auditor is still unable to get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then communicate to those charged with governance and consider implication on audit opinion. In case of non-response, same. Perform additional procedures and consider the impact on audit opinion. Perfect. I'll keep it here. Okay. Same. Perform additional audit procedures. If auditor still unable to get sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then communicate and consider the implication on audit opinion. That was with respect to the positive confirmation. Another area that I want to talk about is negative confirmation. Okay. So there are scenarios based on which I need to identify whether to send a positive confirmation or negative confirmation. Okay. So basically, you know, on the certain scene basis of scenario, I need to check about the confirmation, whether positive or negative. So what I will do, I'll suggest is let's take a break, quick 10-minute break. And after the break, let's understand what are the scenarios when I will prefer positive confirmation and what are the scenarios when I'll prefer negative confirmation. And then we will move to this is the last topic for SA 505. And then we will move to the topic of SA 510. Okay, let's take a quick 10-minute break. Hello everyone, welcome back to the session. Let's continue the discussion on the negative versus positive confirmation. Okay, so there are some criteria where I am supposed to use a negative confirmation or where I can use it, and where I can use a positive confirmation. Okay, now let's say for example, I'll tell you the background about negative confirmation. Negative confirmation is a confirmation where I request a party that, okay, if you disagree, then only you confirm. So, for example, kind of, let's say if like right now you guys are viewing this particular lecture, if I ask you guys, okay, if you face any issue, then confirm or write the issue. That's a kind of negative confirmation. Means if I do not receive anything from your side, that could mean that, one, there is no issue. Number two, you are not watching. Okay. So same way, the negative confirmation, when I talk about negative confirmation, is on the similar lines. Okay. Negative confirmation, one side, it means that the balance is appropriate. Second, it could also mean that the person is not interested in replying or the person has not received the confirmation. So kind of a lesser assurance, I would say, compared to the positive assurance, positive confirmation. Okay. That is something a difference between negative and a positive confirmation. Now, when I say a negative confirmation, can I send a negative confirmation to bank? Can I use negative confirmation for bank confirmation? What do you say, guys? Negative confirmation for bank confirmation. Can I use negative confirmation to send bank confirmation? Yes, no. And with the reason why. Come on. Come on, come on. Break is over. Very good, Charu. Very good. Very good, Yedugundalu. Can I send bank confirmation as a negative confirmation for bank confirmation? Yes, no, why? Come on, guys. Yes, no, why? Can I send a negative confirmation for bank confirmation? Okay, Geeta, good. What else, guys? Tanisha, usually, confirmation process, if I talk about how much time does it take, totally depends upon the type of, parties you are selecting or the parties, it totally depends upon the parties. Sometimes even a month, sometimes within days, you can get the answer or the response. So there is no standard time which I could quote here wherein we complete the confirmation process. But any which ways, we need to complete the confirmation process before the finalizing the audit report. Come on, guys. Can I send negative confirmation for bank confirmation? Yes, no. Why? Very good, Tanisha. to give you your answer to this particular question, I want to show you something. Again, this is publicly available information which I am going to show you. That's not something restricted to me. Remember, in the case of Satyam, there was a letter which was written from B. Ramalinga Raju to the chairman of Satyam Computers and to the board of directors and to stock exchange on January 7, 2009. Okay, which was a trigger point for identification of this particular whole issue of Satyam's issue. Okay, in case of Satyam. Now, this is that letter which was signed by B. Ramalingam Raju. And what he wrote in this letter, see, I want to just focus on one particular point. Inflated kind of non-existence cash and bank balance of rupees 5040 crores against 5361 crores reflected in the books of account. So the difference was non-existence of bank balance books, balance in the books. So out of 5361, 5040 was not existing. Okay. Now, kind of, you can understand how important for us it is the process of bank confirmation with respect to, external confirmations. So this shows that, how much important it is for us to gather the sufficient and appropriate audit evidence with respect to bank confirmations at least. Other areas are also there, but I'm talking about just only bank confirmations here. So if I talk about bank confirmations or positive confirmations, they give me more assurance compared to the negative ones. So if I have to summarize, if I have to think that where I can use negative assurance, negative assurance or negative confirmation can be used where one, the auditor has assessed that the risk of material misstatement is low. So risk of material misstatement is low. Okay. And auditor has auditor has already obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding operating effectiveness of control. Means what I'm saying here is that my controls are working good. Okay. Let's say, for example, area where, I say controls are working good. I have tested the controls. I'm fine. And the risk is very, very low. I'm not required to do further audit procedures or, marginal audit procedures are required to be done. At that particular point in time, if I need to use confirmation, I can use negative confirmation. Second, the population of the confirmation from which you are supposed to select the party. Okay, the population of confirmation or for confirmation, population of for confirmation consists of very small amount, large items. Okay, so it consists of a large number of items of small amount. Okay, kind of, let's say for example, uh, when I talk about large number of items of small amount, it could be, where, let's say you are a kind of, a store which is selling goods on credit to public who have a account till the limit of rupees 1000. So you can purchase, it's an online application where you can, like a purchase some grocery or something to the extent of rupees 1000, okay, on credit, and you need to pay within 15 days, something like that. Now there will be a lot many, customers or lot many users who might be buying on credit. So on a particular point in time, there will be a huge data, huge. But will you send confirmation to each and every user that please confirm for rupees 500? Do you really think that, user is going to confirm your balance in that case? Answer is no. Practically, he won't confirm. For example, Ola. So you have a concept of, Ola postpaid, or you Uber, where you pay after the ride is over, and not immediately, but you have option to pay after a day also. Now, if on 31st March, Uber has so much of, data, do you expect the auditor to send each and every person who has used the Uber and, has taken the ride a confirmation that please confirm your balance? This was the balance appearing. Answer is no. That would be really, really unreasonable for the, audit procedures side also, because so many confirmations, so much of small balance, people will not even bother to reply. So if the population for the confirmation is of large items with the small amount, still you can still go for the negative confirmation. If you want to go, you can go for a negative confirmation. Then you have a very low rate of exceptions, where a very low exception rate is expected. See, there are few areas where I would expect very low exceptions. One, when I have already obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Number two, controls are good. Number three, in my past experience, let's say for example, if this is a recurring audit, I know that in this scenario the exception rate is very low, and I only need some small amount of audit evidence. At that particular point in time, also it's perfectly fine for me to use negative confirmation. And fourth is kind of, a scenario where you think that, the person to whom you are sending negative confirmation is not going to disregard that. Because in negative confirmation, the biggest risk, I would say, disregarding the confirmation means I received the confirmation and put it in my dustbin. That's the disregarding of the confirmation. So when I have assurance that the person to whom I'm sending the confirmation will not disregard, at that particular point in time, I can still use negative confirmation, but subject to low risk, already have obtained sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. Okay. And I'm expecting a very low rate of exceptions. So auditor is not aware of any circumstance or condition that would cause a recipient recipients of negative confirmation request to disregard such request. If these scenarios are present, yes, you can send negative confirmation. Otherwise, negative confirmation is not at all advisable. Any doubt? Any doubt? So this was the SA 505 with respect to your external confirmations. Any doubt? No? Okay. Low exception rate point. Okay, good. No issues. Let me explain this one example. So I'll give you one example for this particular point. A very low exception rate is expected. Okay. Let's say, for example, uh, so areas where we send a negative confirmation, kind of. Okay. Let's say one of such area is legal. Or not legal, let's not consider legal. Again, that's another topic for the discussion. I'll keep it. But if I give you an example for the confirmation, external confirmation and low rate of exception would be, okay, third party freight or freight vendors basically. Okay, freight vendors or freight forwarders. So what is the role of freight vendors or freight forwarders is kind of, they forward your goods. They are just the carriers, freight provider, okay, freight service provider, kind of. What they do is, okay, they forward your goods, or they, take care of your, transportation of your goods. So freight forwarders are kind of, forwarding agent, okay, who take a fee from you to organize a shipment for the shipper. Okay, so they will organize the shipment, they will pack it, they will, do the documentation, and they will, do the filing on your behalf. So freight forwarders are such persons. Let's say, for example, you want to send a good to somewhere, outside India. It's a case of export. Now, rather than you packing the goods, sending it to the custom port, getting cleared for the shipment, and then loading on the shipment, everything, freight forwarders will do it for you. Okay, so those are freight forwarders. Another scenario is, I want to send an external confirmation. I want to send external confirmation to freight forwarders. Okay, to validate the they usually charge sorry sorry for the spelling mistake. They usually charge a percentage of amount. Okay, percentage of amount as their fee. Okay, so they charge usually, let's say, 1%, 2% of the amount as a fee from the customer. So to validate the percentage, charged by them on each shipment. Now I know there is a very low rate of exception because you know I have a previous audit evidence available. So previous year audit evidence is present. Kind of confirmation itself, previous year confirmation. I know there is no change in contract. Okay. I know there are only selected few freight forwarders. Okay. So there is a low rate of exception because I have a previous year audit evidence. I have no change in the contract. I have few freight forwarders and I can perform a recalculation of freight expense or kind of uh, or the commission they have charged, freight commission kind of whatever it is. I can do a recalculation of that. In that case, I would say there is a low rate of exception over here. So this together will make me low rate of exception because I know I have all the evidence in my hand. I have a lot of details in my hand based on which I can say there will be a low chance of exception and hence I can send a negative confirmation. Okay, this is the rate, what I understand. This is a contract with this particular company, your contract with this particular company. Do let me know if there is any, you do not agree with this. Okay. So kind of this particular area where I can send a negative confirmation. So I'm talking about the percentage that is charged by the freight forwarders to the company. You can check the bill, but in order to check for the undisclosed expenses or kind of what if the you are getting bills for the higher amount, something like that. So for checking the percentage that is charged, whether that is based on the the contract or there is something else which is being charged, so for that I can do this. Subsequent receipt validation is kind of I have validated the subsequent receipt received in my bank account. So for example, data was 100, I did not receive a response, or I received a response where I have a doubt. Okay, or I need to perform alternate audit procedures. What I can do is I will check whether this 100 has been collected by the company in subsequent months or not. So that's a subsequent receipt validation. Clear? So that was one example for the very low exception rate. Any further doubts? I hope I'm clear. Any doubts with respect to this? I'm saying where low exception rate means that is kind of when I am sending a confirmation, there is a low rate that there will be a deviation in the response. Means let's say I am I am asking him, okay, whether this is a percentage you charge or this is a amount you charge, and there is a very less chance that he will quote some other number. Okay, so that was my essay 505. Now the next portion that I need to discuss is essay 5 and 10. Initial audit engagement. Dash opening balance. Okay. Initial audit engagement or opening balances. About opening balances. Now, when an auditor is conducting an initial audit engagement, okay, at that particular point in time, opening balances become very critical because that is something, you know, a triggering point or, you know, a major part of your closing balance. Okay. So in case of balance sheet, we audit balance as on 31st March or closing balance basically. In case of balance sheet, we audit balance as on 31st March or closing balance. Okay. So I'm talking about as of now balance sheet. We audit closing balance. Okay. Now this closing balance, how this is derived. So if I take the opening balance, I add slash less the transactions for year. What I'll guess is closing balance. See, this transaction for the year, that is something I am auditing through either P&L or if let's say it's a balance sheet to balance sheet entry. Okay. Then I pay specific attention to such reclasses or such entries which are not impacting my, P&L. So I usually call these journal entries which are impacting my balance sheet items. So whatever it is, I do audit these entries, either routing, being route to the P&L or directly balance sheet to balance sheet. Okay, in my audit. But what about this opening balance? This is a major part of my closing balance because opening, if there is any deviation, if there is any issue in the opening balance, if there is any misstatement in the opening balance, then for sure, okay, let's say for example, if there was a misstatement of rupees 100 over here, this is perfectly fine. But in the closing also there will be rupees 100 misstatement because there was a misstatement in the opening balance. So at times, a misstatement in the opening balance, if not rectified throughout the year, could be a misstatement in the closing balance, could result in misstatement in the closing balance. And as a result, it is necessary, okay, for the auditor to obtain appropriate and sufficient audit evidence regarding opening balances. Whether the opening balance contain any such misstatement I'm talking about, which can affect the current period financial statement materially. So I need to check whether there is any misstatement of rupees 100 in the opening balance which could impact this balance materially. Number two, the appropriate accounting policies reflected in the opening balance have been consistently applied in the period's financial statement. And I'll give you with an example. Let's say inventory, opening balance, and that was as per FIFO. Okay, so that is rupees 2,50,000. So whatever add less during the year I have, okay. So let's say add purchases, uh, kind of goods in goods out kind of. So let's say I'll remove the purchases, goods received, goods dispatched. Okay. Uh, let's say for example 1,50,000 less goods dispatched. Let's say 3 lakh. I would go get the closing inventory. Now let's say for example this will be 1 lakh. Okay. Now the point comes is how do I value this one? I value based on goods received and goods dispatched. What if I say this I have calculated based on FIFO, not FIFO, but weighted average method? I am saying the value of the goods received and good dispatch is calculated on the basis of weighted average method. So by default, my closing balance will become valuation on weighted average method. Now the question comes is, I have an opening of 250. I have a closing of 1. But with the different accounting policies, one where I have a FIFO, second where I have a weighted average. This is not appropriate reason because this will not give me, consistency. There will be an issue in the consistency and the comparability. And this is not in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework. So I need to check not only the misstatement in the opening balances, but how the balances were derived. The opening balances that were, derived last year, the accounting policies behind that opening balances, whether it is the same in the current year or not. Okay. So these are the two areas I need to check. As an auditor's objective, I need to check one, whether opening balance contains any misstatement that materially affects the current period's financial statement. So again, my focus will be on that misstatement in opening balance that is materially affecting my current period, current affairs. Okay. So if there is any opening balance, if there is any misstatement in the opening balance which is affecting the my current year's balance, then I need to focus on that. Number 2, I need to check whether appropriate accounting policies reflected in the opening balance have been consistently applied in the current period's financial statement, or or if there are changes, if changes in accounting policy, then whether they are presented adequately as per applicable financial reporting framework. So I need to check these two things when I'm looking for the opening balances. Now that is something when I do in conducting an initial audit engagement. So objective, while conducting initial audit engagement. Why initial audit engagement? I'll tell you. The reason, because if we were the ones who were auditing last year, then we know what is the balance. We have all the working papers. So at that particular point in time, like I can't say there was a misstatement in my work in last year and I need to check. So at that particular point in time, I was the one who has audited last year. I'm the one who is auditing current year. So I will just carry forward the balances because I was supposed to check whether whether the balances of the last years are appropriately or not. So it will be a kind of a duplication of work because I have already audited last year balances. If I'll again check for the misstatement in the opening balance, it will be equal to auditing and going my work papers of last year. So that's why I only do while conducting initial audit engagement. So initial audit engagement means either they were not audited at all or they were not audited by me. Okay. So this is the objective. One, I need to go for opening balances whether there's a misstatement. Second, appropriate accounting policies. Okay, reflected in the opening balances have been consistently applied in the closing balance. Or if there is a change, then presented adequately as per applicable financial reporting frame. Clear? Let me add some pages. Okay. Now the question comes is that how should I do this? That is a very important point. I know what I need to do. I need to check opening balances for the material misstatement. I need to check opening balances for the appropriate accounting policies and the closing balance for the appropriate accounting policies. Okay. Then what I'm required to do for this. So I will bifurcate in two areas. One, to check for misstatement in opening balance. Second, to check for accounting policies. Okay. Now, the first question, how will you check whether the opening balances have been, carry forwarded appropriately? Or the opening balances which are appearing in the, in the workings or in the, data that has been given to you, are the opening balances, are the closing balances which were there in the last year? So how will you ensure that? First step is, how will you ensure that the opening balances that you are looking at are appropriate or the ones were the closing last year? Come on, guys. How will you ensure whether the uh, opening balance have been appropriately brought forward? Good, Shruti. Very good. Come on, guys. How will you make sure, okay, the balances are carry forwarded appropriately? Very good, Yorukonalu. Very good, Geeta. So one of the area that is I can check is whether the balance has been brought forwarded appropriately or not, or correctly. So whether previous year closing have been correctly brought forward to current year. So this is the first step that I will do. Whether the closing balance have been correctly brought forwarded to the current year, and that could be done by verifying with the previous year audit reports, previous year signed financials, by verifying previous year signed audit report. Okay. Now that is the one area that through which I can check whether there is a misstatement in opening balance and closing balance. I need to see, my purpose is to identify throughout the audit what is my purpose, to ensure that there is no misstatement or materially the closing balances are not materially misstated. Okay, so my focus still will be on the closing balance, but why I'm paying focus on the opening balance? Because a misstatement in opening could be a misstatement in closing. So I'll write it here. Focus point will be misstatement in closing balance. Now, because the misstatement in opening could be a misstatement in closing, that's why I'm focusing also on opening balance. As misstatement in opening could be misstatement in closing balance. That's why I'm focusing on opening balance also. Otherwise, my focus should be only misstatement in the closing balance. Okay. Now let's say for example, opening balance, and I will write it here, and closing balance, because I have to check misstatement in the closing balance. Now that is the one part where I can validate whether the previous year numbers have been brought forwarded correctly or not. What else I can do to ensure that my objective is to ensure that there are no misstatement in the opening balances that are materially impacting the closing balances of current period's financial statement. So what additional procedures I can do, or what I can do further? Come on, guys. I want to ensure that my closing balance are not affected by the opening balance, misstatement in the opening balance. What would I do? I have compared with the previous year financials. That is done. But how can I make sure that there is no misstatement in the opening balance, and that's why my closing balance is not materially misstated? Can you give some examples, Shruti, of prior period items that you are referring here? So understand, my objective here is to identify whether there is any misstatement in the opening balance, to ensure that the current period closing balances are not materially misstated. For that, one step is I check whether the balances have been brought forwarded correctly. That is done. What else? Accounting policies, yes, I'm yet to come on the accounting policies. Let's talk about the numbers. Policies we'll talk about later. How will you make sure that there is no misstatement in the closing balance, okay, due to opening balance? I'm talking about material misstatement. How will you ensure that? So that I did, that I checked. Let's say, for example, whether previous year closing have been correctly brought forwarded to the current year by verifying previous year's signed audit report. That I already did. Other than this, what I can do? Come on, guys. Other than this, how can you make sure that the misstatement in the opening balance is not impacting your current year financial statement closing balance? Okay, Geeta. Good. What else? Come on, guys. What else? Okay, Shruti. Good, Mohammed. What else? So, understand my question. How can I ensure, other than checking last year audit report, how can I ensure that the misstatement in the opening balance is not impacting misstatement of my closing balances? Or my closing balances are not materially misstated due to misstatement in the opening balance. How can I ensure that? Other than verifying last year's audit report. Okay, Geeta. And trust me, the answer is pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. What I can do to validate that my current year's closing numbers, closing balances are not materially misstated due to opening balances. Okay, Rohanalu. Very good. Very good. Okay, Mohammed. Come on, guys. Try. I want you guys to try and answer as much as you can. What else? Think, think. What else you can do to validate this? One option I would give you, perform audit of last year, full audit of last year. What if there is no audit report in the last year? Okay, let's take this example. There is no audit done in the last year. This is the first time audit. I'm talking about first time audit. So, when there is an audit in the last year, I can go and check the observations, modifications in the last year audit report. perfectly fine. But this is the first time audit. Till this time, till this particular year, there was no audit done. There was no audit requirement. So this is the first time the it is being audited. How will you make sure that? So there is even no opening audit report, last year audit report to check the balances. First time audit, what you will do? Okay, Kriti. First time audit, what you will do? Okay, good, Geeta. You have opening balance sheet with you, the balances which have been carry forwarded from last year. There was no audit in the last year. There was no audit report is available in the last year. This is the first time you are being appointed as an auditor and the company is getting audited for XYZ reason. Okay. How will you make sure that there is no misstatement in the closing balance due to misstatement in the opening balance? Very good, Geeta. So that was the answer I was looking for. Trust me. Very good, Geeta. If I'll take you with an example what we are talking about here. And the answer is pretty simple. Trust me. So let's say, for example, opening balance. Okay, rupees 100. Addition, let's say rupees 50. Deductions, let's say rupees 60. Closing balance, let's say rupees, this will make it 90. Okay, fine. This will be less, add, and the closing balance. Now the problem here is when I talk about balance, we are just thinking about the balance. Okay, when I talk about balance, we are thinking about the balance. The moment I attach a class, a name to the balance, for example, opening balance of datas. Let's say I attach the name datas. So this addition will become sales. This deduction will become collection. And this closing balance will be of datas. And if I roll out confirmation for the closing balance, doesn't make any sense for me to check the opening balance. Because I have got confirmation that my closing balance is not materially misstated. Means there is no misstatement resulting from opening balance. So I did not perform anything, but whatever I performed for the current year, the audit procedures of the current period, the audit procedures of current period's audit procedure gave me that comfort. There is no misstatement in the opening balance. Let me write it in full sentence. Audit procedures performed in current period provided the comfort that there is no misstatement in closing balance of current year. Okay, so the current year audit procedure provided me a comfort that there is no misstatement in the current year closing balance. Now, let's say someone would have said that, okay, what if there was a misstatement in the opening balance? I'm saying there is no misstatement in the closing balance. Okay. If there was a misstatement in the opening balance and no misstatement in the closing balance, means it has been rectified in the current year. Then, if it has been rectified in the current year, why I have to worry? So, your current year audit procedures are giving you comfort that the current year balance is appropriate and it is not misstated due to any misstatement in the opening balance. Understand? I am saying your current year procedures also are giving you a comfort that the balance, the closing balance is not misstated due to opening balance. Not all the audit procedures, but yes, some of the audit procedures are giving you. For example, confirmation, inventory count, physical verification of inventory fixed sets, bank confirmation, investment confirmation, fixed deposit confirmations. Okay, account receivable confirmation. You can go for a confirmation of liabilities, like litigations. You can go for a confirmation for the secured loans, secured balances, liabilities, long-term loans. Okay, you can go for a confirmation with respect to sometimes also vendor reconciliation, vendor confirmations. So there are lot many procedures which are available, which can be performed in the current year itself to validate the current year balance, and that will give me a comfort to the extent that here my current year closing balance is not materially misstated. Let's say hypothetical example, your current year audit procedure is not giving you comfort. Okay, so what I'm saying is this particular current year audit procedure is you supposed to give the comfort, but if it is not giving you the comfort, then there is a problem for me. So in that case, I'll also tell you what to do. Let me go back to that particular one. Yeah. So first of all, I need to see whether evaluate whether current periods audit procedure, okay, current period audit procedures performed provides evidence relevant to the opening balance. And at times you can modify your current year audit procedures. For example, when you are sending a confirmation to the debtor, you can keep opening closing balance. You can ask confirmation for two balances together. Okay. Still, if you want that your comparative numbers should appear correctly, send confirmation of opening and closing balance. If it is a bank account, send confirmation of two balances as on 31st March 22, 31st March 23. So evaluate whether your current period audit procedures performed provides evidence relevant to the opening balances. If there is no to that, if the answer is no to that, then only you go perform specific audit procedures. Okay, to obtain evidence regarding the opening balance. Understand my point? When I'm saying there is, uh, you know, evidence I'm getting from the current year procedures, fine for me. If I'm not getting, then from case to case basis, I need to evaluate what I could do further. Clear till now? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? So no need to perform the full audit of last year. You can by some procedures also can get the comfort of the balances of current year and opening balances. So when I used to audit in my articleship days, my seniors, used to tell me, do smart audit. Okay. When I say smart audit means think of, how you can get maximum, audit evidence of higher reliability with the, with the given set of audit procedures. How you can tweak the audit procedures to get maximum, audit evidence from that. That is a smart audit. I can perform 10 different procedures. I can gather, huge audit evidence. I can, involve hundreds of people to perform the audit. But that is not the smart and efficient audit. Smart and efficient audit is kind of, where from one or two procedures, you are getting audit evidence equivalent to the 10 procedures. Okay. So, coming back to the topic, uh, this is something we are talking about to check for misstatement in the opening balance and closing balance. Okay. Now, again, the second part was accounting policies. So see, accounting policies also, for accounting policies also, you need to check application of accounting policies, consistency of accounting policies. So for that, I need to, refer to, here I need to refer or check the previous period accounting policy, then check for the changes, if any. Okay. And then check whether the correct accounting policies are applied. Okay, in current year. So for accounting policies, it is pretty much simple. There is, you need to check what is the accounting policy in the last year. Check if there are changes. So whatever the correct accounting policy is right now, whether changed one or whether not, whether that is applied in the current year or not. Okay. Now, from here, there could be two scenarios. I'll tell you those two scenarios. So from here, I have two scenarios. One, and I'm talking about, where I have issues or something like that. I'm not talking about everything is fine scenario. One, I'm unable to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding opening balance. Second is the opening balance contains misstatement. Okay, there could be two scenarios. One, opening balance contain misstatement. Second, I'm not able to identify itself. I'm not able to get the appropriate and sufficient and appropriate audit evidence. I'm not talking about the third scenario where everything is okay. No. because that is, if it's everything is okay, then fine. No need further, no further actions required. If I'm not able to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence, then simple, pretty much simple, evaluate the impact on audit opinion, which may require you to modify or issue a disclaimer of opinion as per SA 705. Okay. Now, if I say opening balance contains misstatement, so from there again I have two options. Okay. Again, I have two options. One, where management is ready to rectify the misstatement in current year. Okay. Second scenario, closing balance are also materially misstated. See, again, my target is, closing balance. So when I say there was a misstatement in the opening balance, I need to evaluate whether management is ready to rectify during the year, or my closing balance is also still, materially misstated. If management has rectified in the in current year, management is ready to rectify the misstatement, then check the appropriate disclosure requirements as per applicable financial reporting framework. So if there is a rectification of the misstatement, okay, in the current year, which was there in the opening balance, then you need to check how it has been rectified, what balances have been affected, whether the retained earnings have been affected, how it is shown in the P&L, if it is affecting the P&L, okay, prior period items, whether any restatement required, something like that. So third balance sheet is required. So we need to understand what is the requirement of my applicable financial reporting framework when I rectify any prior period item or any item which is not of current year. Okay. Plus, if that is a scenario here, in both of the cases, I need to communicate to those charged with governance. Same here also. Even in all the cases, if I'm not even able to, able to get the audit evidence, I will inform those charged with governance as per SA 260. Okay. If I conclude misstatement still there, okay, if I conclude misstatement is still there, in that case also I need to, you know, uh, consider the impact on my audit opinion. So for that also, consider the impact on audit opinion. Okay, as per SA 705. So this is kind of, we can go through and check whether the misstatement are present or not. I'll show you one example if I have. Just let me check if I have that example, then I can show you guys. Mhm. Meanwhile, any doubt? Any doubt, guys? Any doubt? Again, do not focus on name, please. Is it just for your understanding? Let me check if it is. Uh, Let me check. Just give me a minute. Uh, okay. As of now, I think I don't have available that one where there was a qualification in the current year audit report because there was a qualification in the previous year audit report and which was not rectified. Okay. So that's why there was a qualification in the current year audit report because there was a qualification in the previous year audit report. I'm not able to check that one as of now, but yes, because of that, there could be qualifications, and in those scenarios, based on that, uh, there are scenarios where your previous year qualification is becoming your current year qualification. Any doubt till now? Any doubt? Any doubt, guys? I'll try to check if I can get that particular audit report where I can show you. Okay, so that it will be very helpful for you guys to understand that. But meanwhile, if any doubt till now, whatever we have discussed, whatever we have discussed on part of you can say you know uh, SA 505 510. Any doubts? No, no doubts. how to remember all essays. See, to remember the essays, you need to, just, I'm not saying mug up, but the more you will practice, the more you will remember. Read, practice, solve the questions. Then only you will, understand and remember by default. Like, for example, today I know, not because I am, just, mugged up and everything. No, the why I remember everything is because I day in day out practice. I discuss, I practice, I read. So today 260, 250, I can tell you okay which essay is what 705, okay 700, because I have done that much of practice that today without even going to the essay I can tell you what is the content, what paragraph is what in the essay. So once you will start practicing, once you will start, solving questions, once you'll start reading, by default, things will, you will start to remember things. So there will be no additional, effort will be required from your side to remember the numbers, the names, and everything. Okay. If no further questions, guys, thank you. Thank you for participating in today's lecture. In next lecture, I'll continue the chapter. Please read before you come. Revise today's session. Read the next session points, and then we will discuss. Okay. I'll see you in the next lecture, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. Ashok, session concluded.